to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Real Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this Friday night, folks. Big fight night. A lot of buzz about this Mike Tyson, Jake Paul fight. Going to give you my prediction and breakdown right off the bat, although I do know that there's going to be a lot of undercards played right now. This fight the actual fight will probably take place here, I would say, in about 3 hours. I've been watching these fights for, 30 years since I was a little kid, particularly these Tyson fights. But I will open up the show with that. So as soon as I get back from the break, we'll talk about that. Matt New Yorker has not sent me his picks in, but I'm going to talk about this week's biggest games in the NFL and college football. We'll go over that, and of course a few other games, since we'll have extra time, not to actual recap. Got a lot of good sound, though, for this Tyson fight, interviews and everything. So stand by. We'll take our first and only break. I'll be back here momentarily, and we will hit the ground running here on the Real Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to Sports, that is Sports with an S, another S, Scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program.
I'm Mac, CEO of National Streaming Sports and host of the Mac and Jack Sports Show. You're watching the sharp-dressed man and the big story breaker, Robert Butler, on Sports Scope, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern on National Streaming Sports.
All righty, then. I'm back here live. I want to say to Mac, who's the founder of him and Linda, founder of National Streaming Sports. Used to be called Northeast Streaming Sports, but now it's called National because they have spread it out. The huge podcast network, built it from the ground up just a few years ago. Mac is in the hospital, and I'm not sure exactly what for, but Linda put that on her Facebook page. Linda, thoughts and prayers with Mac there, and for a full recovery. I know Mac is a tough guy, and I know he'll come through. Okay, I got a few more. There's a few more commercial breaks we'll have to take, but I did say first and only, but I wanted to get to this Tyson Paul thing first, and then we'll touch on some of the other, I think about 2 minutes for other commercial stuff, but I wanted to get on this right off the bat here, and I still haven't gotten nothing from Carlos. So I think Carlos is in out of the tech zone. Carlos is down in his home country there of Colombia, relatives and whatnot, taking care of some family business. I thought he was going to be able to text me his picks. That's not the case. Now, he may pop in here. I've known Carlos to do that, or he may text me on the phone, and I'm keeping an eye on the phone as we speak and see if we get those picks, but we'll probably just put those off until next week. I'm actually up 8 games, and hey, it is what it is. I know Carlos is busy and stuff, but you guys know I'm really got a lot of time and effort in this. I like to be as accurate as I possibly can on that. So getting all that business out of the way. Okay, let's talk Jake Paul Tyson. Everybody's talking about this fight. A lot of reporters that don't even cover sports. Greta Van Sussen, who's friends of Mike Tyson, used to be on like CNN, and she's been on other news networks. She's on Newsmax now. She actually brought Tyson on earlier this week and talked about the fight. So people at work have asked me about it. My friend Odette, who watches the program, she's a big boxing fan, asked me about it. A FedEx man at the elevator we were talking about it. Maintenance guy, one of my buildings were talking. I mean, it's really a hot fight. I feel like it's the 90s again. I feel like he's fighting Razor Ruddock or Buster Douglas. But they've done a good job marketing this fight here. Let me say this, Jake Paul, much better fighter than people would say. He has beaten some former athletes and whatnot. He has beaten some MMA fighters in a boxing match. But I will say this, Tyson, his only fight against an actual fighter, Tommy Fury, he's the brother of Tyson Fury, who ironically was born in 1988 and named after his dad's favorite boxer, Mike Tyson, named him the first day. But that's the younger brother of the former heavyweight champ. By the way, when he fights again, I'm going to order that fight. I know there's also a side note, folks. There's a huge UFC fight this weekend, and I've never ordered a UFC fight, but I know John Jones is fighting. And if you hear guys like Joe Rogan, he's the greatest of all time. And I do not dispute that from everything I've read about John Jones. But here's a few other notes here from CBS. Jake Paul, 10-1 in his career. Like I said, Tyson, Tommy, the younger brother, his only loss. Let's talk about Tyson. By the way, this will be fought in Jerry's World, the big Dallas stadium there, in Dallas there where the Cowboys play. Tyson, 50-6, 44 knockouts, has entered the ring for a pro bout since retiring in 2005. Remember, folks, this is an actual sanctioned fight. This will count against Tyson if he loses. Could he get his 51st win? We'll see. We'll see. But this is an actual sanctioned fight. It's 8 rounds. They're using heavier gloves. I want to say 16 ounces instead of 10. So this is, by the way, Jake Paul's got 7 knockouts, by the way. 10-1, 27 years old. Tyson, 58. I thought Tyson was 60. He's only 58. Remember, he had that stomach ulcer issue back in July. This was supposed to be in July. This will be that much bigger because there's not a lot of other sports surrounding this fight right now. So you're talking 31 years difference in age. But Tyson, if you looked at some of the training videos, he's still speed. He's weighing in at about 233. Paul's right around that same weight there. If I had a complaint on Tyson, I would want him to be a little bit lighter, 220, 215. That's when he was at his knockout weight, his absolute best weight. I guess he's leaning more on his power now, and he wanted to get up to 233. Still looks pretty quick, though, if you watch him train. He's lighter than he was in his later days when he didn't look as good. But he's still, I wish he was about 15 pounds lighter, 15, 20 pounds lighter, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. But I'm thinking Tyson 88, 89, 90 throughout 92. Those, but going back to that. Yeah, so he had a stomach ulcer back in July, and they delayed the fight. I think they could have fought sooner than that, but they just didn't want to push the envelope too much here on this. Again, this is it's 14-ounce gloves instead of 10. 14-ounce gloves. It's those big white gloves you've seen, and in the other fight between Tyson and Paul, or not, but they fought separately, of course. Those big, heavy white gloves. I think that's what the time they're going to use, those 14-ounce gloves. That's going to lower injury rate there. This is more of a safety thing, if you ask me. And I'm looking over some of the notes here from this They talked about this CBS article, talked about his first loss was in 1990. I remember that loss to Buster Douglas and the 1992 rape conviction. Whether which side you take on that or not, a lot of people seems like it was a BS charge, and going to somebody's room at that hour, 2:00 in the morning, it's, not to condone it or either way, but it is what it is. That thing we'll leave that 30 years in the past. He comes back and beats Peter McNeely. He was a little heavier then. I didn't like that, even though he knocked out Peter McNeely pretty quick. If you all recall that in 1995, I think he got it, 90? 95. And of course, we know he lost in November of 96 to Holyfield. The thing about Tyson then is he did not have the proper training then. He did not have Gus D'Amato's trainers behind him at that time. If some of you older listeners recall, and he had a lot of Don King's guy, and he was big into this whole Muslim thing, and that he'd gotten involved with in prison, and he just did not have Teddy Atlas and whatnot. That was his trainer back in the day. He did not have those guys, and he got heavier, relying more on his power. But I noticed he's thinned down since those days, and it talks about Lennox Lewis. Now, I was living in New York City in June of 2002, and Lennox Lewis is more about 6'3", 6'4", give or take. Jake Paul's about 6'1", 6'1". If you see Jake, and Tyson's 5'10", I know I've been following Tyson for a long time. He's 5'10". If Jake Paul were closer to that 6'3", 6'4" range, I would pick Jake Paul to win this fight because he's pretty skilled, for a guy that doesn't have that much actual professional fight experience. But he's not. He would have to really stick and move and run away and get booed like nobody's business to really have a good shot at this, instead of keeping this in close, because that's gonna favor Tyson fighting an in close fight. He doesn't quite have that reach per se. He doesn't quite have that reach per se that I think that's going to be needed for him to beat Tyson. We all know that Tyson struggled with taller fighters, although Vander Holyfield was just a better fighter at the time. He was better trained. Even Holyfield said it's like, man, his moves were very simple. He was not as dynamic as he was back in the late 80s and early 90s. It wasn't because of age. It was because of his lack of training, Although that first one was a good fight. And, of course, second one, you had the ear bite and whatnot. But that's why I picked, going back to that, that's why I picked Lennox Lewis. In that fight, going back to 2001, won $100 from two different guys at work. They were New York natives, and they were big Tyson this and Tyson. And I said, no, there's too much height there with Lewis. And, of course, Lewis beat him. Lewis ended up winning that fight. So anyways, as far as this particular fight, like I said, I like Tyson to win it. He's the underdog. Vegas has still got they still have Paul as the favorite. Let me say this. I think this will probably go to a decision, or in 8 rounds, or to go to a draw. The reason why I do think that this is a big money grab for both fighters. This is a big money grab here. And, the whole slap, I don't know if any of you saw that during the weigh-in. It looks staged. This is going to make a lot of money. I think that the rematch would make a lot of money as well. They may go back to pay-per-view in the rematch. Depends on how they do with this Netflix deal. But my thing is, that's my gut instinct. Tyson in a decision, or a draw, a controversial draw, wink, wink, that they're both kind of playing this thing up and trying to make some money. Remember Conor McGregor and, oh God, what's that guy's name? Floyd Mayweather. That felt like Mayweather was keeping him around just to keep the crowds into it. It feels like that, except they didn't rematch. I think they're going to try to do that. That's just my gut opinion. But for entertainment purposes, folks, let's listen to this girl. She looks 11, 12 years old. She may be a little bit older than that. Cute kid. She really appreciates, and folks, Tyson does let some curse word coming out here. Let me play you this. I'm sure some of you have seen this. It's about a minute. So, young kid interviewing Mike Tyson, asking about his legacy and everything for this fight. Very funny, though. I had to upload this. This was too much, too funny. Let's see it right here. Listen up.
Well, in your return to the ring for this fight, you are setting a monumental opportunity for kids my age to see the legend Mike Tyson in the ring for the first time. What type of legacy would you like to leave behind when it's all said and done?
Well, I don't know. I don't believe in the word legacy. I just think that's another word for ego. That's just some word everybody grabbed onto. Now it's used every 5 seconds. It means absolutely nothing to me. I'm just passing through. I'm going to die, and it's going to be over. Who cares about legacy after that? What a big ego. So I'm going to die. I want people to think that I'm this, I'm great. No, we're nothing. We're just dead. We're dust. We're absolutely nothing. Our legacy is nothing.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. That is something that I have not heard before, someone say that as an answer.
Can you really imagine somebody say, I want my legacy to be this way when you're dead? You think somebody really wants to think about you? I want people to think about me when I'm gone. Who the fuck cares about me when I'm gone?
F cares about me. I ain't gonna be nothing. I ain't nothing. I ain't never gonna be nothing. Who the bleep cares about me? Now, that reminded me, folks, I tell you what, I have to admit, I love TikTok. I know the stuff with the China and everything, but I think it's an awesome app. I love the setup of it with the quick videos. A lot of people share the old videos of, I think because the Tupac movie, All Eyes on Me, was been showing on Netflix. And some people are looking back at some of the Tupac stuff, the classics, like the movie Juice. There's a great scene in here where Tupac is saying, I ain't never going to be nothing, I think he's talking, I guess, Omar Epps. Omar Epps, you know him from The Program and Higher Learning. I really like Omar Epps. These guys say some really cool movies in the 90s here. Watch this scene here. Tupac, one of his better acting roles in the movie Juice. Yes, there's curse words. Parental advisory. Stand by.
I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck about you. I don't give a fuck about Steel. And I don't give a fuck about Raheem either. I don't give a fuck about myself. Look, I ain't shit. I ain't never gonna be shit.
Now that scene reminds me of Tupac. Who gives a F about me when I'm gone? It's like he forgot he was talking to a kid. But you can see the little girl's expression afterwards. She's kind of just, she's very appreciative that Tyson's talking to her like an adult rather than talking to her like a kid. So some people find it inappropriate, whatnot. It's Tyson being Tyson. That's a viral little 1-minute interview quote there. I thought it was cool. It kind of adds a little spice to the Tyson. Tyson, 58 years old, still got that grit like a guy that is about 25 and still trying to prove himself in there. You got to love it here. Again, I do like Tyson in the decision. I would not be surprised if this did not go to a draw, and this sets up for a rematch so they can milk it again and get some more money, in my opinion. Okay, so enough with that. Can't wait after I get off here, wait a few hours, and then I'm gonna watch the fight. I'm gonna make me some coffee, and we're gonna see the mighty Mike Tyson. Yeah, my sister just sent me a text. Netflix Live, Mike Tyson boxing now live event. Okay, yeah, I see that, Livia. I was looking to see if Carlos has sent me anything, but he never did. So, okay, quick take. I was wrong, Philadelphia. Last night, I thought that the Commanders, and I looked good for 3.5 quarters, right? I thought the Commanders should go on the road and beat this Eagles team. They got a lot of key players back. Brian Robertson got the touchdown. I said he would have a pretty good game. He got that early touchdown, took that early 7-0 lead. Then at 7-3, I know that there was some field goals missed early on by this Eagles team, but the Eagles settled down in the second half. A couple big runs by Saquon Barkley. Let me say this. I know to all of you that's watched this program for a number of years, I've been hammering that Saquon Barkley is one of the most overrated players in the history of the game. And I will say this, after watching him this year with the Eagles, he's right there with Derrick Henry, by the way. As far as numbers, they're really leaning into that. He's not as overrated as I thought. I think he's maybe slightly overrated. He was a number 2 overall pick. I would never pick a running back that high. I don't believe in it. That's just me. Mind you, he was drafted the same year that Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen were drafted, okay? I'm drafting both of those guys over Saquon Barkley in all due respect. Those are quarterbacks. This guy's a running back. Jackson, who I've been a huge critic of, may win his 3rd MVP this year. And Josh Allen looks like an all-world guy. I think on the right team, he could win multiple Super Bowls and be compared to a John Elway, in my opinion. But that being said, he's a great fit here. Kudos to Saquon Barkley coming back to where he went to school at. Remember, he went to Penn State here. A great game last night. I had to really take this into consideration. Washington has been a great story this year. Jaden Daniels, he's pretty much a rookie of the year offensively. You can lock that up. As far as MVP talk, that was talked a few weeks ago. Those talks have fizzled away into the air. Now they're 2 games back out of Philadelphia in the NFC East. That was my preseason prediction. Philly would win this division and lose in the NFC Championship game at Detroit. Now, we're still a little premature. We still got a lot more football to be played for that. But I have to remind myself when doing research for this program tonight that Montez Sweat, probably their best pass rusher, was traded to the Bears last season, and they let their former number 2 overall pick walk in free agency, Chase Young. Chase Young simply had too many injuries. So they're a little bit loose on defense. And, of course, Marshawn Lattimore, they traded for him, and Lattimore still has not played yet for the Commanders. It was the big NFL trade deadline move that was done last Tuesday. So I have to keep that in consideration, that they still have issues on the defensive side, and they still have a rookie quarterback there. That being said, A.J. Brown, just 3 touchdowns here. What's this, through 10 games? Just 3 touchdowns here for A.J. Brown through 10 games. This is more of a power. This is their identity now. This is Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, power running football team here. Play action. As long as Hurts can stay out of harm's way, and I don't know, that's a big if, folks. That is a big if. This team's going to be fine. Those young rookie corners are playing better and better as the season goes along. I mentioned Quentin Mitchell in the draft before, and, of course, Cooper DeJean, not to mention the other players that they're, you got Darius Slay out there, veterans that are helping these guys out. And, of course, Jalen Carter in the middle of that team. This is a good defense. It's not a great defense, but it is a very good defense here. And their left tackle's back, so they're looking good. They're looking good. Kudos to the Eagles here, playing good football. This is not the Super Bowl team, but this may have a better defense than that Super Bowl team per se, and they are definitely in the driver's seat. I was wrong. The Eagles, good win last night. That was a much closer game for those of you who watched it. I mean, a good chunk of that game, the Washington looked like they were the better team and in control, but they kind of worn down, and the better, deeper team really imposed their will and got the win and cover. Was it 26-18? Kudos to them. Okay. All righty then. Now, let me double check. I'm checking all my text here, making sure that Carlos has not texted me or anything else before I start going into these games. All right. Let's start off with, I do think that this Atlanta and Denver game, this is a pretty important game here. Denver is at 5-5. They're still wanting to be that playoff team. Denver, they pushed the Kansas City Chiefs to a one-score game. This is 16-14. They did cover that game. This Denver team is tough. They still lack some depth as well. They have a big dead cap. Remember from the Russell Wilson issue there with the dead cap money with that contract and whatnot. And then you've got this Atlanta team. Yes, Atlanta, they are in the driver's seat in the NFC South, but do they want to keep their foot on the brake? They'd like to get a better seeding at this point and try to catch up with the Detroit or an Eagles team and whatnot, and see how that plays out for them, you know. But believe it or not, Denver, folks, Denver is actually favored in this game. Yeah, you heard that right. Denver is favored by 2 points, even though they're 5-5 and the Falcons are 6-4. So this is a pretty important game here. This is across. It's going to be nice out in Denver. I mean, great offensive weapons there for Kirk Cousins, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts is, well, he's quietly kind of come into his own here lately for this Atlanta team here. But, they still lack pass rush. Remember they took Matthew Judon, traded for him just for the season start, and they still don't have a good pass rush. They're good on the back end. That Raven team would love to have this secondary, right? But I think the Denver at home, I'm actually with Vegas here. I think Denver toughs this thing out. Denver still got a pretty good defense. Patrick Surtain, those guys, they're all going to play. I think Denver toughs this game out 24-23. Tight game. Last-minute field goal there, led by Bo Nix, a guy that, man, he's really surprised me. I like Denver to get that win and get back over 500, and it keeps those other teams mathematically in it in the NFC South, folks. Okay? All righty then. Where should I start now? Okay. Kansas City. Now, nobody saw this coming. Buckner there, Harrison Buckner, the kicker, folks, for the Kansas City Chiefs, just popped up out of nowhere and says, in the middle of the week, I think it was yesterday, Thursday on a game week, you just don't see this happening. But Harrison Buckner, boom, he's going on IR. The Chargers are going to have to bring in and sign this other guy here as the did I say Kansas City, Cincinnati? I don't know why I say Kansas City, Cincinnati. But anyways, I'm jumping. You know what? I'll go ahead and go to that game. Kansas City, Buffalo. I meant Kansas City, LA, or Cincinnati, LAC. Excuse me. But anyway, so Buckner, I'll go ahead. Kansas City, Buffalo. Excuse me. The Bills. I'll go ahead and go to this game since it's talking about Buckner. So this guy, Spencer Schrader, S-H-A-R, Shredder, as this is named, like Shredder if you are a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fan like myself growing up, and I know they've remade it. So this guy's a new kicker. All right, so that is concern here. Coming into this game, for whatever reason, Las Vegas has the Buffalo Bills as the favorite in this game. And this was before we've heard this news about Harrison Buckner. official news about Buckner, who's going to be on the IR. He's going to be back towards the playoffs here. This team's 9-0, this Chiefs team. But that being said, look at Buffalo's injuries. Dalton Kincaid will not play in this game. That's their lead tight end, very talented second-year player. Rookie, I call him a sensation. I see him getting better every week. But Keon Coleman for Buffalo, he's not going to play in this game, folks. So I know this game is at Buffalo, and I know that the Chiefs do not have their kicker here, which it could be a major issue here. And Amari Cooper's questionable. We don't know if Amari Cooper. So who's he going to throw to? Khalif Shakur's pretty good. Dawson Knox is pretty good. I can see them running the ball. I noticed that Allen is running a lot here lately, and I know the regular season record 3-1 Buffalo is against Kansas City in the regular season, 0-3 in some heartbreakers in the playoffs. Last year, I picked Kansas City to win in the playoffs over Buffalo because Buffalo's linebackers are out. They just seem to not catch the right breaks at the right time in the playoffs, or to be one thing or another in this particular game. All that being said, weather's not going to be an issue. As you can see, I'm talking about there's just more injuries here on the Buffalo Bills side. I'm going against the grain here. I'm saying Kansas City 24, Buffalo 20. The Chiefs, for all you Chiefs haters out there, I just call balls and strikes on this program. I think the Chiefs are going to go 10-0. You know, as I mentioned before, I think that a guy like an Andy Reid can look at this and say, you know something, it would be in the back of his mind, he'd kind of like to see him lose this game so they can coach him up and whatever. There was a close game last week against Denver, which I said could happen. But either way, they're going to be 10-0, 24-20, Kansas City, the healthier of the two teams as a whole in that defense. They find a way to win on the road. Okay? All right. I do not know why I accidentally I put KC. I meant to put LAC. This is the game I meant to talk about just a second ago. Doing a lot of stuff at once, you know. I do my laundry on Friday, and I'm balancing everything out and putting groceries up on Friday, and kind of got a little sidetracked. But anyways, I meant to say the Chargers are going to play the Bengals, I want to say, on Sunday night football. Yeah, they're going to play on Sunday night football, 8:20 Eastern. The Chargers are favored. Cincinnati the Bengals played last Thursday, and you know how I don't like that. I do not like that. It always annoys the heck out of me. Both teams that played last Thursday, the Thursday before, they both got beaten. One of them looked terrible, and that was the Jets here. Remember they beat Houston last Thursday, both Houston and the Jets. I don't know what it is. The players are just too slothful or something. I can't put my finger on it. But either way, they don't play that well. That being said, and also the Chargers have won the last two against Cincinnati, including going to Cincinnati and beating up on Cincinnati in Cincinnati a few years ago when Cincinnati seemed to have the better team. Now, that being said, this is a week-to-week league. This is a league where you have to monitor the injury report, okay? You have to monitor the injury report. Khalil Mack has not practiced Friday. I don't think Khalil Mack's going to play in this game. Usually players who do not practice on Fridays, very likely they do not play in this game. T. Higgins is going to play in this game. So now you got T. Higgins back. Now you've got Jamar Chase back there. I originally picked the Chargers to win this game, who is slightly favored by 1.5 points. But I got to thinking, this game is in prime time. The Bengals are going to be ready for this game. They've been needing the last few games. That leaves without saying. Their offense is red hot. You're taking out one more pass rusher here. It looks like Orlando Brown will probably play. He's been questionable, but their best pass rusher, second best pass. I know Bosa back, Joey Bosa, the older brother. I know he's back there. But I'm actually going with the more desperate team. I changed my pick at the last minute, and I'm going to go Cincinnati 23-20 with the return of T. Higgins and likely no Khalil Mack. They have issues getting the ball downfield on a consistent basis, they being the LA Chargers here. So I'm actually going to pick Cincinnati. This is going to be a good game. This is Joe Burrow versus Justin Herbert here. I reluctantly take Cincinnati because I'm so irritated with that ownership there. And I do not like taking teams coming off Thursday games, but I started staring that injury report down. Yeah, I think that they're going to end up winning this game and come up with the big road win there in the LA Coliseum there, whatever. They're going to go ahead and beat. They will beat the LA Chargers. In my opinion, that's my pick there. Okay. So, this is my favorite game of the week, folks. This next game, the winner of this next game will be in the driver's seat and in first place in the AFC North. Okay. That Ravens team, folks, they played Thursday. Remember, they almost lost Thursday. Cincinnati missed a 2-point conversion, 35-34, if you recall that. So I could see a little bit of rust there. This Pittsburgh team is underdogs at home. You all know how much I like to take, and I've been right about this just about every time. Mike Tomlin teams as underdogs, plus not to mention the fact that let me go ahead and look at this. They are 7. The last 10 games, Pittsburgh is 7-3. And these are all one-score games. Listen to this stat here about this. This is a great game. This might not be a high-score game, but it's a very intense game. CBS put this stat out. Since 2008, the Steelers and the Ravens have faced off 35 times. Remember, they play in the playoffs. They're in the same division. And 27 have been decided by one score. Since Harbaugh became the Ravens head coach, 25 of those 35 games have been, that is a rivalry. And that is two teams that know each other really well. But look, you look at Russell Wilson with this Steelers team. He's perfect for that offense for Arthur Smith. Also, this defense, this is the best they played in years, although they did give up, 27 points the other day. This defense with Patrick Queen in there, Preston Smith, looks like he's going to get some more playing time this week. I think Alonzo Highsmith's out. This Steelers team is going to play really well. Micah Fitzpatrick's healthy. T.J. Watt, they're pretty set on that defensive side of the ball. Baltimore's going to make their plays. They're Baltimore. They're going to make plays. But, who was it? Lamar Jackson says, I don't know why I struggle against these guys, but I do. Hey, they're Steelers. They see that Baltimore Ravens uniform, and they just play well. But them being underdogs at home, Mike Tomlin's going to play this up. I like the Steelers to win this game outright with an upset, even though they're 3-point underdogs at home. 23-17, folks. The Pittsburgh Steelers win this game. Probably the best game of the week. The games I talk about and predict 9 times out of 10, they are tight games and really good games. I said these are going to be good games. This is going to be a tight game. Ravens come up short. Baltimore or Lamar Jackson throws an interception at the end of this game. And, of course, they come up with the upset win there, and they take charge and stay in first place in the AFC North, and looking like they could potentially be a 2 possibly move into a 2 seed, because I do think that the 8-2 Buffalo Bills will lose to the Kansas City Chiefs. That'll knock them down a notch. They could be tied there, and we'll have to look at the tiebreakers and see how that would play out here. I think it would probably favor the Steelers, since the AFC North is slightly better than AFC East. But I haven't crunched those numbers yet. We'll have to find out that come Sunday night. Okay. Okay. So those are the big games, and I'll touch on a few other games since we're going to have more time left. But let's get to this big college game, folks. Tennessee, Georgia. Let me read a few big breaking news headlines here. Brett McMurphy from the Action Network used to be with ESPN, but ESPN is also going with this report. This was late this afternoon into this evening. This was early this evening. We're 24 hours away, less than 24 hours away, 23 hours if you want to be exact, from around kickoff time for Tennessee, Georgia. Nico, the quarterback, has cleared concussion protocol and will start versus Georgia. That's huge for Tennessee fans. That is huge. One report said before that, about an hour, Tennessee is expected to play against Georgia, barring a setback. On3 Sports said he's listed as questionable. Then it came up, he will play. Then it got Brett McMurphy, and ESPN says he will play. He practiced this week after being injured in the second half of last week's win versus Mississippi State. Kevin Carroll, Coach Carroll, who was on the program last night, said he's dealt with concussions before. If it was a really bad concussion, he would be out of the light. He wouldn't be able to practice like that. I thought maybe that was lip service, but now it does look like that Josh Heupel was correct, that he wasn't pulling our leg, that Nico will play. Nico will play, okay? Now, this is a pretty high point spread here. 9.5 point. Georgia's favored here. Travis Etienne. Trevor's, I think, is the older brother that plays with the Jaguars. The younger brother, who's a very good player, used to play with Florida. He transferred over to Georgia. He's not going to play for Georgia. But, folks, listen, Georgia, I just get a sense that Georgia, they're going to play like the Georgia we've seen in the University of Texas football game. You know, I just get that sense after being humiliated last week by Ole Miss 28-10. You know, I've talked to some people at work. One guy, maintenance guy, saying, well, how are they going to score? And I said, well, that's true. How are they going to score? I don't know. I don't know how they're going to score. But I do know this. And like I said, folks, just because I'm out of Nashville, we talk about a lot of University of Tennessee. They've been one of the top teams in the league. I'm also a guy that calls balls and strikes. Tennessee turns the ball over 1 to 2 to 3 times every single week. I mean, Dylan Sampson, the running back for Tennessee. I mean, just turnover after turnover here. And, you know, Nico's a great player, but he also fumbles the he fumbles the handoff in exchange. He throws careless interceptions. I get all that. And so does Carson Beck. We even joked around about it. I made a clip there with Beck in Tennessee. Tennessee's defense this time around, they will keep Tennessee in this game, you know. And let me say this, as I said yesterday, Tennessee, if they do, for whatever reason, if Josh Heupel says, we want you to play fast, but don't be in a hurry. We want you to leave it on the field, but don't be careless with the football. We need to slow down just a little bit so we're not fumbling running back, quarterback exchanges. If Tennessee does not turn the ball over in this game, even though I know that They lost 38-10 to this Georgia team last year. That Georgia team had Ladd McConkey and Brock Bowers on there. Hovdove playing pretty well in the NFL, especially Bowers. And they had much better running game behind Beck last year. I think Tennessee will win this game. I do think that if they do not turn the ball over, I think they'll win this game. I said that yesterday. I want to double down on that today. They will win this game. That being said, you look at Tennessee on the road. We looked at them against Arkansas. We looked at them against Oklahoma. You saw the turnovers there. I just cannot see Georgia making that many mistakes. I think Georgia's going to win this game 24-17. I think Tennessee will turn the ball over, and it will happen. But this game is worth watching because Tennessee's defense could hold them in there. Could Tennessee have 3 turnovers, but they'd be like punts, and Georgia still beat Georgia? Yes, because maybe Beck turns it over in their side of the field, and Tennessee wins. So hope I'm wrong for the sake of the locals here, but I'm not a Kool-Aid drinker, pom-pom waver. Tennessee's got to show they can win big road games like this. I don't think it's going to happen. I do think Tennessee will cover this spread at 9.5, and I've been beat on that before in the past. But I do think their defense is that good, not unless they turn the ball over 4 or 5 times and Georgia beats them that way. So this is going to be a really interesting game. This could go the other way, but 24-17 is my prediction. I do think that Georgia will win, unfortunately, even without Trevor Etienne. Could be wrong there with the way Beck's playing. Tennessee could get in this guy's head and turn him over a few times. But that's just the way I'm calling it as of right now, okay? Other games of interest here. Going back to the NFL here. Can the Seahawks rebound? The 49ers seem to have issues with their defense. They're on and off. I know they gave a cornerback a big raise here, but I also know that the Seahawks have a way of kind of sticking it to the 49ers and keeping this game a lot closer than one would think. That game is 6.5 point spread. That is a game. Is Seattle going to rebound and get back to 500, or is the 49ers going to get to 6-4 and make themselves a legit playoff contender? I don't know. I'll say this. And I want to say the Niners are off a bye week, but I'm not sure. The Niners minus 6.5. This might be interesting for about a half, but I do think the Niners will pull away from that game. Also, you look at teams like the Jets at 3-7 going against a 4-6 Colt team. By the way, Anthony Richardson will be back this week, folks. The Jets, as I said before, this Jets team is totally they're going to have to get another quarterback. They're going to have to get a head coach there. This is a game of interest. If you're a Titans fan, if you're a Giants fan, if you're one of these other teams, the Browns per se, and you really want to get some new draft picks in there, the Cowboys, you really want the Jets to come up with a win here. But I don't see it. I think the Colts are going to end up winning this game. It'll be much closer because the Jets got humiliated last week by Arizona. But Jets are 4-point favorites here. But the Colts, man, the Jets, with their defense constantly being out of place, I think Richardson will probably be able to run for many of yards here. And the Colts probably pull this off 26-20 and a wild one there. Browns seem to be pretty healthy. I did hear something. I was Colin Cowherd and Jason McIntyre, by the way, and Colin Cowherd talked about the Browns, who, some of you that are like you Titan fans, you want the Cleveland Browns to win games because you want to get that better draft pick. The Browns are playing the Saints, and Jameis Winston's coming back to New Orleans. coming back to New Orleans where he was playing last year, right? I got a feeling that they're pretty sharp here. I like the Browns to get this win over New Orleans, and Browns are actually 1-point favorites here. 24-23. I like them, the Browns, to get this win here. Nick Chubb, fresh Nick Chubb, and of course, Jameis Winston. I'm sure he's going to give a pick or two here in this particular game. Also, not to mention the fact that the Cowboys and Texans here playing on Monday night. Cowboys, another bad defeat there coming into this game. Of course, the Cowboys, being the Cowboys, got humiliated last week by the Philadelphia Eagles. That being said, this Houston team's folks, this Houston team is C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud is a 500 quarterback on the road. Don't be surprised if the Dallas Cowboys upset the Houston Texans here and get their 4th win of the season. I wouldn't bet this as far as that, but I would take Cowboys plus 7 points. I got a feeling Cooper Rush there, and I think they found a little something with Rico Dowdle. Plus, this is the second game back here for Micah Parsons here. Don't be surprised if there's a big upset in Dallas land and the Dallas Cowboys actually upset the Houston Texans here. Let's take another quick break, and I'll be back here in just 1 minute. I almost forgot to get that break in.
Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk for America.
National Streaming Sports is brought to you in part by BetUs.com, designed for true fans. NFL odds, Week 1 and futures, college football odds, including Heisman Trophy favorites and playoff odds, NBA odds of division winners and playoffs, Major League Baseball playoff and World Series odds, the National Hockey League Conference playoffs and Stanley Cup odds, and boxing wagers. Betting opportunities include versus the spreads and outright winners, also during the game. Use our link on our website, nessp.info, the Bet Us Opportunities webpage, for a 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits. Must be 21 years old, and remember, bet responsibly.
All righty then. And again, thoughts and prayers there with good friend there, Mac McGraw here. Has been in the hospital dealing with some issues there. Thinking about him. Packers Bears here. I mean, obviously, I do like the Packers to win this game. They're 5.5-point favorites. There's just a matter of time. For Matt Eberflus is going to get canned. I can't see why he's not going to. I do like the Packers on the road to get that win. Same thing with the Lions here. 14-point favorite. I don't know if they cover that, but there's the Jaguars have a bye next week. There's a chance Doug Peterson could get fired after this game come Sunday afternoon. Doug Peterson could get fired. And, of course, Minnesota at Tennessee. Now, why is that game mean anything? Well, if you're a Titans fan, you want to continue to lose out and get better players, or maybe you want to see a breakout game for a Will Levis and possibly beat this Vikings team. But also, good friend of mine, Andre, if you're out there, sent me an article, possibly, I think it was A to Z Sports here. It's the outlet out of here in Nashville. They started around the same time I did, so they got some more money behind them. And but anyways, said, but what about a potential Sam Darnold, who's going to be a free agent here after this season? Of course, he's having a pretty good season under O'Connell. Of course, we know J.J. McCarthy likely to be back. I know he had another surgery here recently, but supposed to be, on air quotes, back in time and be ready to play next season. Their rookie quarterback that they drafted out of Michigan here, who looked really good in the preseason. Does Sam Darnold, does the Titans draft too far back and they can't get a Schroeder Sanders or a Cam Ward out of Miami? Does the Titans, do they sign Sam Darnold? Is this an audition for the Titans for next year, and the Titans move off Will Levis? That's a storyline for a game that much, more often than not, is probably going to be a Minnesota win. And the spread is 6, and I can see that feels like a 27-20 game, Minnesota on the road here. But I tell you what, Tennessee's got some pretty good receivers. I see a Calvin Ridley having a pretty good game against that Minnesota Vikings secondary. That's a fantasy alert for you, folks. But anyways, little food for thought. Rams, they really need to bounce back here. They're 4-6. Remember, they lost that Monday game. They got to play at the Patriots. Patriots just got a big win on the road against the Bears here. Let's see how that works out. I think the Rams bounce back, but who knows? Who knows? I know Rams do have a bad secondary. Good pass rush, but their secondary is pretty suspect here. So, folks, if you like the show, share the show. Again, I do like Mike Tyson in a decision, or this could possibly be a draw so they can kind of milk the public here, or set up the promoters and everything. Not really milking the public, but if they go back and fight on Netflix again, I think they're going to try to do this where they can get another match out of this, and both of the guys can get another big payday here. So Mike Tyson in the decision, do not be this in the which is an 8-round fight, or a potential draw, just enough to kind of, because remember Roy Jones Jr. fight. Now that was an expedition, I get it, but that was a draw. Remember the Roy Jones Jr. Kind of seeing this here. Let's see how this thing plays out, though. So you heard my prediction here. I will see everybody Monday. Monday, we'll talk about all this. And also Wednesday, I got a good friend of mine, Roy. Roy lives in my complex here. Roy's a big Steelers fan. So if the Steelers get that big win, he's going to be on Wednesday. I might have a guest on Thursday I'm looking at possibly bringing in, but I haven't made an announcement yet for next week. So have a good night, everybody. Otherwise, I'll see you Monday. Have a good weekend. Same time, same place here on the Real Sports Scope.